Okay, so that was June the 16th, 2009. And it's very fascinating looking back on yourself in the past and listening to yourself in the past. I'm very intrigued about digital legacies and what we leave behind now when we die. Now that concept has taken me a number of years to sort of get used to myself, because I made that tape in Bristol in June 2009. And I'd never said those words before. I'd never written those words down before, and they just came out when a journalist asked me a question. So there's a lot of content in our heads that we don't yet know, that the internet is nudging and prodding. You've got a lot of skills and expertise that are inside you that you don't know are there, that get nudged out by this environment that we now operate in. So I want to show you how you think. So if you go on to leadors.co, you can do it on your iPhones, you can do it on your iPads, you can do it on Android, it's HTML5, and just fill in this questionnaire, 15 questions, click, 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 and I'll get the mic and I'll tell you how you adjust. So there's eight different profiles on there that you can have. What you're trying to do is get to the point of being a friend. You should keep taking it until you get ORS, open, random, and supportive. That's the state you're trying to get your thinking to. That's the mood of your mind. Now, the good thing is the people who are open, they take the questionnaire pretty quickly. The people who are closed tend to find issues as to why they can't take the questionnaire. So you discover straight away the kind of nature of the way people are thinking. But what's confusing individuals is not just the skills and the time, that you don't necessarily have all the skills, and skills are hard to acquire because you don't have the time to get the skills. But the real issue is the way you think. And having trained a lot of executives in a lot of corporations, one of the reasons why they're struggling to deal with Amazon and eBay and Twitter and Google and so on is because they don't think the way they think. The thinking doesn't match. And I want to encourage you to try and become a friend online and think in an open, random, and supportive way. And if you can, and keep taking the questionnaire, keep gaming it until you can, because that's part of the process of the nudge. If you can adjust to thinking like that, then you can adjust the way the web is thinking. And you can get used to the fact that organizations like Amazon are highly dangerous predators. Now, to give an example how serious a predator they are, at Christmas, Amazon are launching a free smartphone. It's $79, so it's £50. And it's an Android smartphone. And it's not pay-as-you-go, and it's not contract. The minutes are free, and the data's free. It's £50. You'll never have to pay for a mobile phone call again, or you never have to pay for the data charges again. And so what do organizations do, like Orange and T-Mobile and EE and Vodafone and O2 do when they're suddenly assaulted by a free phone? Very, very scary for these organizations. And the idea of, we probably all spend £50 to £100 a month on our smartphones. The idea of saving that money is quite attractive, particularly for all the kids we have who burn up minutes and data on those things, as you know, at the speed of light. Now, a lot of the telephone companies, the cell phone providers, they're really quite confused as to what to do when Amazon launched this, because Amazon are basically giving you a catalog in your hand for free, virtually free, and you'll be able to download they'll make their money from the apps that you download, the music that you download, and the books that you download, but the actual device itself becomes free. And then you have to think about having apps in the Amazon store as well as in the Google store and in the Apple store, in the iPhone store. So that's quite scary for companies to really adjust to. And then when you look at something like Amazon Web Services, Amazon have just won a contract from IBM to take care of all the servers and data of a major organization in the United States. And the organization that's now moving all of their data infrastructure onto Amazon is the CIA. And that contract was worth $3 billion a year to IBM, and they've just lost it to Amazon, who are delivering it for $600 million, 1/5 of the price of even IBM. It's very, very scary. And Amazon are beginning their assault to Oracle and SAP and all the professional services companies with free professional services, free software, free web hosting. The whole environment will be entirely free next year from Amazon. And you have to think about what that means to your business, because they can deliver cell phones for free, they can deliver software for free, they can deliver web services for free, they can deliver professional services for free. And you have to think about how you're going to adapt to that and how you're going to take advantage of that as well. Because their cost base is such now that all of their costs are paid for by Amazon Marketplace. Amazon Marketplace generates $1 billion a month of profit. That pays all of their overheads and all of their salaries. So everything else they can now launch for free forever. So you're going to see Amazon Gas, Amazon Electric, Amazon Phone, and they're just going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And the gas companies are scared, the water companies are scared, the electricity companies are scared, the cell phone companies are scared. They're all scared because we have a monster growing now, which is wonderful for consumers because it's free and low and cheap, so we all love it. But it's a machine that's going to create massive unemployment in traditional big companies. So big companies are as unsafe as small companies, but as smaller organizations, smaller companies, I want you to think about how you can exploit that massive growth that's coming from a free smartphone from Amazon in the Amazon Marketplace. Think about that. And those of you who have that natural, open, random, and supportive thinking will go away and think about that. The ones who are closed, selective, and controlling among you will struggle to make those leaps, struggle to make those thoughts. Now, in the United States, there's a new book that's come out, and I'd like you to read it. And it's called The Age of Context. And it's written by Robert Scoble. And Robert was recently awarded the position of King of Social Media by Forbes and Fortune and Business Week. It's called Age of Context. And it covers 5 main areas: sensors, mobile, big data, location, and mobile. It's one of the best books I've read to help you put all of this technology in context in relation to you and your company and your business. He's putting technology in context and its effect on us. So I'd like you to read that if you can, if you get time, because I find that a really useful piece of context for you. Because I'm getting concerned now that the speed of the technology growth is so fast that what you think is the case and what is the case could be different. And the executives I work with, I think, are getting increasingly out of context by getting out of touch. And because they're so busy, and we're all very busy working 60 or 70 hours a week, keeping up with our meetings and keeping up with our calls and keeping up with our email and our clients and our suppliers and our staff, we're almost losing sight of what's in this technology wave coming, and that's what Robert's book has aimed to really capture. And so there's a lot of shape there that I think will change the way you think about yourself and your business. So try, if you get time, to read that book. Now, one of the things I've decided to invest in, a new startup in Silicon Valley coming next year, which has intrigued me, is I was training one of the board directors of a big PLC, and he said, "Thomas, I know you love all this social media stuff and all this internet stuff, but I hate it." And I said, "Well, you know, it's not mandatory to come on these courses. You're paying us already. You don't have to stick around." He said, "Yeah, but hold on." He said, "But I want to look good online. So I hate social media, but I want to look good online. I hate using all this technology, but I want to look good online." And so we've made an investment in something called Scredible, which comes from socially credible. Scredible, socially credible, Scredible. Lovely little name. I love that little cartoon show, The Incredibles, or now The Inscredibles, little cartoon Disney thing, you probably remember it. And Scredible is a series of algorithms that actually writes your blogs and your tweets and your articles for you. So it learns everything online about you. You set your preferences, and then it publishes for you. So it's an automated system to be you online. So it's like a social media robot. Because I wanted to have something for that one person, Ollie, who runs a big company, I know, a big, huge company with 300,000 staff. I wanted to answer that problem. I want to look good online, but I hate social media and I haven't got time. And so I think we're now reaching the point where we're going to effectively outsource our social media to these robots, and they're going to be us online. And people are going to get really concerned about that. They're going to get really concerned about the thought of that automation. Am I talking to a real person or am I talking to a robot? And of course now, they're so good, you can't tell. So we've done a little test engaging a series of university professors to actually speak back to this thing through Twitter and so on, and none of them actually noticed yet that they're talking to a machine. So these things are getting very, very sophisticated. Now, one of the nightmares in all of our lives is email. There are all your results coming through there. And so your email box is never empty. It's always full. And you can see down there in your address book, 65,000 contacts, 7,800 phone numbers, 70,000 email addresses. I've never in 20 years been able to get on top of email or phone numbers or addresses or meetings. Never, ever got on top of it. So one of the things I've tried recently is something called SaneBox. Have you heard of SaneBox? Very fascinating thing, SaneBox. It actually studies your email for you. It's a robot. It studies your email for you, and it puts it in the order that you'd like to receive it, and it takes away all the stuff that it doesn't think is relevant to you. And during the last 12 months, the guy who runs this out of Boston, a guy called Stuart, he said, I've sent you a list of everybody that you have interacted with in the last 12 months, along with our other users, and it's typically 750 people that we interact with on email over a period of 12 months. And so taking that 750 people, I want to have a personal relationship with each of those 750 people where my social media is bespoke to each one of them. I don't want it to be general to all of them. I want it bespoke to all of them. So that's one of the pieces, that intelligence from your email. So you're going to be able to get to the point, as Matt described, where your brand for each person in the room, your personal brand for each individual that you interact with on email is going to be unique, run by a robot. So then you've got a robot talking to a robot representing you online. So people say this is very, very scary. The other thing that I've got very frustrated with is the number of newsletters I now receive because of those opt-in lists that Matt described. And it turned out to be over 900 newsletters that I've opted in to receive over the last 20 years. So now there's a system to take me out of them, and that's called unroll.me, which takes me out of all the newsletters. So I've got rid of all of those newsletters in my life. So I found a way to manage all the contacts with Zobni, manage all the email with SaneBox, and take away all the newsletters with unroll.me. These are all robots. This is all maths taking care of our lives online. And this obviously affects the relationship we can have with our customers and suppliers, because we're effectively beginning the process of outsourcing ourselves to the web. And then, of course, you've got all the things that happen on your Facebook and your Twitter and so on. And so, more recently, I've been testing something called Rebel Mouse. There's Matt, there's today's event, there's John over there, John from PayPal, there's Matt there from Sign In, there's Sarah there doing her show, there's your waving this morning, and that's a robot running all that. I haven't done any of that myself. So now you can simply click a button and a machine takes your photos, your images, your tweets, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, the whole day, and puts it into a live running commentary newspaper on every platform, aggregated, sorted, spell checked and posted for you. That's called Rebel Mouse. So what I decided to do was I decided to take my thomaspower.com, which I've had for about 20 years, and divert that to Rebel Mouse. So my thomaspower.com is now a machine. And this runs me everything I post, everything I share, everything I check in, every photo I take. It effectively grabs me and puts me out there. So it's like sort of a rolling newspaper, a rolling journal, a rolling diary. And so I've quite enjoyed that. So I've said to the guys at Rebel Mouse, could they print that out every month for me and send it me in a book so I can put it on the shelf? So you can have a documented hard copy, which they're now sending me. Because when you see how much you post and share online and visit and the people that you meet around the world, you don't realize just how much you're posting and publishing and connecting and the meetings that you're seeing. But now you can have robots manage and account all of your life and your diary and your journal without having to do anything at all. So a lot of people feel quite scared about the arrival of all these robots, these algorithms in their lives. And I wanted to see what you thought about all of this. Whether you thought this was a good thing to make you more productive, whether you thought it was terrifying at the thought of letting the machines take over. Personally, I love what the machines do. But I wanted to see, what do you think? What do you think about these machines? Zoe?
It terrifies me. Yeah, because there's no engagement. In the example of, I think it's your thing, with the automatic tweeting and the robots, there could end up being a conversation between two robots and no actual data is going back to the people that have that persona. And I just think that's all a bit odd.
It's all a bit odd. Those robots that are talking back are running now on Match.com, eHarmony, and people don't realise now on dating websites that they're talking to a machine, not a person. And I've seen that run now, both for men and women, sophisticated men and women, not Muppets, people like us, unless we are Muppets. And I've seen it tested now on men and women, and it works very reliably, and you can't tell whether you're talking to a man or a machine, a woman or a machine. So how do you feel about this? I just want to get a reaction because...
I think I'd feel a bit cheated, if I'm honest, because when you engage in a conversation on social media, you think you're engaging with a person. So when you meet that person in real life, if they have no recollection of that conversation, which they wouldn't because they didn't have that conversation, all that trust, all that trust you built up, all that reputation, you just drop that down the toilet.
I had a couple of points. I absolutely hate that as well. As an SEO guy, I talk about sort of content and reputation, and it's important engaging with users and talking to users. So, as you say there, it's like there's no reality there. As soon as you find out that's not someone that's written that kind of kills it. But I want to know what you think of the ethics of that. As far as Match.com, someone falling in love with a robot, let's say, and then finding out that's a robot. What? Yeah, no, exactly. It's just a laptop there or something. But also things like liveson.org, which you sign up to and it continues to tweet as you after your death. I think stuff like that's really dangerous because if I died and then all of a sudden my tweets are still going up, my brother and my friends are seeing that, as me going, just got to the pub and I've got a pint in my hand or something, I think that's really dangerous. What's your thought on that?
I'll go for that question there before I respond.
I think you made the point that people don't know they're talking to a robot. I think the fact that people don't know, the fact that the technology is capable of doing that isn't a reason to use it. I think, as everybody said, it's not real. And just thinking about what it's going to do for your business If Google has been capable of putting in place algorithms to work out what it thinks are spammy linking policies, etc., it won't take it much effort to work out that all this stuff came from robots, and any of the social signal value that you currently get because Google thinks you're engaging, it will probably just wipe out. If you're going to do this, why don't you just give up and go and lock yourself in your bedroom and stop living?
Interesting. You see how controversial it is, Glenn?
And as much as I love you, Thomas, I wouldn't visit thomaspoweranymore.com because I don't feel there's any value there for me. And I enjoyed it when it was updated by you and it was scarce. And I might check it maybe once every 6 months, and there might be a change, there might not be. I think I've far enjoyed that than this, because I follow you on Twitter, I already see these signals. But then again, it's just my thought. I mean, I preferred it as it was, to be controversial.
Okay, anybody else on, yes?
For me, it's about controlling the content. So it came through on my thing, I'm controlling, and I am very controlling. So how do you control this to make it what you want to say? Or is, and are you happy with the content it's producing on your behalf?
I am. I now get all my work through this machine, which is weird, because it's being run by a machine. So that is all done for me. And I know it's terribly, terribly scary. But of course, I'm the person who goes out and tests everything so that you guys don't have to see whether it is real, professional, ethical, and so on, as you've described. But I like to push everything to see what happens. One of the interesting things about the algorithms is that we typically only use about 1,000 words when we're speaking, and when we're writing, and when we're tweeting. Now, obviously, it's very easy for a machine to learn 1,000 words, and we don't use many sentences, and we tend to use the same sentences as well, even when we're arguing or fighting. And so actually, when you see how well it writes for you, Glenn, and for you, Jane, it's quite worrying that it actually writes better than I can write myself. Because it reads better than we read, it writes better than we write. The other nuanced thing about it is that all of us are motivated by different things. Some of us are motivated by gaming, and we're driven by dopamine, the thought of something. Others are driven by testosterone and the thought of winning. Others are driven by love and oxytocin and cuddling up, and others are driven by serotonin and calming down and being in deep thought. Machines can even take that into account, and the algorithms can take that into account. So it can even write into our mood and the meme of our emotion and personality, as in Carl Jung. So of course I've seen all this stuff working in the Valley now, I'm working on building it, and I'm still trying to deal with the question about the ethics, because I know there are thousands of people in the world, millions of people in the world, who hate social media, haven't got time, and want to look good online. And so I think, well, I might as well explore it and listen to all the feedback and deal with the controversy first, so that the pies hit me first before, they start hitting into yourselves and major organizations. So that's one of the things that's been going through my mind now for a long, long time. Now, Google Plus is a very interesting little product. How many of you have really got into Google Plus? So why is it a company as sophisticated as Google can't build a social network to rival Facebook? Why can't they do that? What would you say to that? Because, Facebook is 1 billion people logging in every month now. Glenn, what do you reckon? Let me bring the mic down so everyone can hear you.
I spoke at an event recently at the London Stock Exchange only a couple of days ago, and Google were there talking Google Retail. And they see Google Plus very much as the social spine of all of their products.
Yes.
And I think that's incredibly clever. And that's really switched my thinking. I mean, I'm not big on Google Plus, but that single phrase has completely changed my outlook on the whole product. The fact that it touches every single point of all the Google products, such as YouTube and the search engine and analytic, the whole lot. And I think that's their vision and their journey. I don't think they're intending to rival Facebook. I just believe that they want it to be the social spine of all their products. And I think that's incredibly inviting.
Yeah, so you like that. Anybody else got a comment on Google Plus? Yes? Oh, yes, yeah.
I think with Google Plus, the reality with them is they are just where Facebook were when Mark was at Harvard and coding away. I think there's just a lot of us that don't really appreciate how big that thing is going to be. And we know, obviously, it's interlinked to everything. But it's just a perception thing with them right now. It's just a perception that we log into it and we go, oh, this isn't quite Facebook. But then Facebook wasn't quite MySpace, or Facebook wasn't quite the way we did it before Facebook got here. So it's just a natural evolution that Google Plus will, with its links into everything else, just become as big a part of our life as things like Facebook are now.
And what about
On Facebook, you get people talking about things that you can't quite believe that they talk about. You know, I got sloshed last night and showed my knickers to the police, and you're thinking, oh, why did you tell everybody that? No. but Google Plus, people don't behave like that. So they do share pictures of things about their personal lives, so their picture of the day, or their cat, or their cake, or whatever. But they don't seem to take that step into the uncomfortable that so many people do on Facebook.
what? There's a comment over there coming. Yes, sir.
Just replying to what you just said, maybe it's different people on Google Plus than they are on Facebook.
I was just going to raise the point that as far as social networks go, obviously Facebook, MySpace sort of ticked a few boxes. Facebook came along and just sort of nailed it and got better and better, and obviously grew and grew and grew. And it's now just world-renowned. It's Facebook. It's where everyone lives their lives. And I think Google Plus, obviously, Google don't want to try and do something exactly the same, so have to try and do it a bit differently maybe. But I think these two chaps are both completely bang on the money. But Google can't be seen to do something exactly the same, so they've tried to do it a bit differently. And I think they've got to go in a bit differently, so they are going in for that social spine sort of thing. But interestingly, the biggest market group for Facebook users is people in the middle age, and all the kids are starting to use Instagram. Well, no, I'm pointing past you to people older than you. Kids are starting to use Instagram and leaving Facebook because their mum and dad are joining Facebook. So they're now using Instagram as like what they were using Facebook. So I think it will develop and it will move on, but whether Google get that, I don't know.
It's interesting. I mean, Instagram is now Facebook, so you can see how it's consolidating. But the other thing, my three kids, they're 21, 19 and 17, my three kids. They now are obsessed with Snapchat. Are you all familiar with that? You're all familiar with that, Snapchat? So when you look at something like Snapchat, which is sending text images to one another, start off in the sexting, texting, saucy business, and has now moved on to massive volumes. Snapchat has now reached, this is, I find, absolutely incredible, 350 million messages. Yeah, here we go. 350 million messages a day on Snapchat. 350 million messages a day on Snapchat. It's not even a year old yet. Now, the bit I really struggle with is how is everybody finding time to use the Google Plus and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, and yet everybody says that they haven't got any time. I'm thinking, so I haven't got time for LinkedIn and Facebook. But these things are humongous. Yet everyone says they haven't got time. So it's not about time. Because we're all on Twitter and we're all on Facebook and We're all on LinkedIn. Some of us, only 1 or 2 of us are on Google+, and I think you're right. It's because it's in emergence, and it'll take a number of years to emerge. I think you're dead right about that. But look at this, 350 million messages a day. It started in February. They just had a valuation, this young boy who's running it just had a valuation of $800 million. Started in February. You're going to be a billionaire in a year from a standing start. Yet no one's got time. So I just want to understand the time thing. Is the time thing a real thing? Or is that just what we say because we want to get people to go away, because we know if we say we haven't got time, people will go away? Or have we actually not even attempted to saturate ourselves yet with this technology? Because Twitter's doing their flotation, their IPO in November, and they're approaching 1 billion tweets a day, 1 billion a day. So, okay, it's what people are having for breakfast, but it's 1 billion a day. This is 350 million a day. Facebook, close to 1 billion people a week. LinkedIn, now 100 million updates every 3 days. Yet I haven't got time. So something doesn't match. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on, I haven't got time, and yeah, I'm using all this stuff. So where are people on that? Anybody? Yes, sir.
I think the time concept is people probably spending time on social networking sites instead of watching television, or you know, it's kind of replaced what people used to do before this. So before they had no time, they still have no time because they've started doing some other things. I think that's where my thoughts are anyway, but I guess that's just me. But.
Okay, so it could be television, but time on television is growing as well. Okay, so that...
I think people are starting to multitask a bit more. I think the art of conversation is starting to be lost. You see people sat in pubs texting instead of having a conversation between each other. And also from my perspective, I find that I use different social media areas for different things. So for Facebook, I'll be looking at events, what's going on. For Twitter, I'd be tweeting certain people. For LinkedIn, purely business, if I was trying to look at career and so on.
Lovely. That's a great prompt. I see. Have you all seen the video of the pub in Brazil with the glasses cut out? I think this is fascinating. Let me dig this out, because I think you're right about the art of conversation. Let me see if I can find this. So you can ask. I can stop at any time. You know that. But it's just fun. So it's the tipping glass, mobile phone. That's it. Violence. Okay, so this is in Brazil. I find this brilliant. So the glass only stands up when you put the phone underneath it. Now what's interesting about that, there's so much demand for the glass cut out that the guy sold the pub and just makes the glasses. And that's now a massive business, $1 million a month. Now that's what I mean about ORS thinking. He was pissed off that people were using the phones. He creates a glass, cuts the corner out, the glass tips over, puts the phone in, the art of conversation, boom, now he's in the glass making business. So things are not necessarily what you think they are. So I just wanted to put those things into your head so that you were nudged, because I think once you make the decision to be open, random and supportive, you'll let more stuff in. And it's there where you'll spot where the opportunities are. And the whole idea that the kids are better than the adults at this stuff, it's just not true. We've been doing some work with a very big company, and some of the kids were tweeting, "Oh, do you want to come out on expenses with me," name of company, "on Friday night?" And I'm thinking, huh? There's a first-class degree, Oxford and Cambridge, tweeting the name of the company that you want to come out on expenses with me on Friday night. So, I mean, that's really thick, isn't it? So I tracked that person down to ask them why they did that, and so got a first from Cambridge in maths, right? So it can't be a brain thing, can't be dim. And they said, "Oh, I didn't think anyone else, I thought only my mates saw my tweets." Okay, in maths from Cambridge. So no. So what's happened here is very, 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 very unusual. It's very different. And I think we have to work together in packs now, because it's too complicated for anybody to keep up. Thank you.